Hello and welcome to my space here. I am going to be doing a little video to send a message, I guess, or to discuss food. And food is such a diverse subject, but really what I'm going to talk about is eating in order to find comfort and comfort eating, and how we can kind of support ourselves mentally and emotionally when we comfort eat, rather than like shaming ourselves or being hard on ourselves, or being really judgmental or critical of ourselves, or like to the point where you're like not allowing yourself to enjoy the holidays. Or I just thought this was a good video around this time of year because I, for one, love the food, and a lot of the food, isn't always the best. We can kind of be a little bit gluttonous around this time of year. We can kind of over-consume, and we do that a lot with food, right? And this time of year, we're wanting that comfort, we're wanting that, and for so long, food has held me. Food has been my companion. Food has been my, sense of support, right? And I love food. One of the reasons I love food, and one of the ways that food helped me to cope, because I was very overweight. The highest weight I remember seeing on the scale was like 367. So since then, I wanted to talk about like the awareness of emotional eating or binge eating or comfort eating. And it's really just the awareness. And if you bring your awareness to it, then it begins to kind of resolve or kind of heal on its own. And our bodies are so powerful, right? They can heal themselves as long as we create that space. And creating space comes from creating awareness. And so instead of having, one of the reasons I would overeat and the reason I went to food to comfort myself is because as a very young child, I was struggling with anxiety. I was having a hard time mentally, and I had a hard time communicating this or expressing these fears I was having or this anxiety I was experiencing. I didn't know how to put it into words. And this began at a very young age, before I even knew what was happening within me. I was just trying to cope, just trying to get through the day. And that's what a lot of us are still trying to do, is just get through the day, to kind of find that sense of like pleasure, that sense of comfort. And what we really are seeking is that sense of support. And we can really use source and spirit as a way to supply us. And a lot of times we're taught to give ourselves energy and to make ourselves feel good and comfort ourselves from the outside in. But when we begin to develop that relationship and that awareness to our spirit, to that awareness inside of us that is always comforting us, then we can begin to rely on that voice to comfort us, rather than, sometimes when we're caught up in our anxious thoughts, right? We want to numb those, or we want to quiet them, or we want to distract ourselves from them. And it's okay to do those things, but when you're distracting yourselves with things that are harmful, right? So it's just like, it's like switching up your habits, right? I'm not saying to not eat. I have never, a while before I began to eat intuitively, and that's kind of what I want to discuss here, before I began to eat intuitively, and to just observe my body and my emotions and my mind and my thoughts when I was eating. That's when I'm talking about creating awareness. So when you're sitting down and you're eating, how often are you distracting yourself while you're eating? And I mean that by like watching TV, or just not paying attention, or like being on your phone, right? And like not even aware of what you're putting into your mouth. Like intuitive eating allows for you to kind of step back and take a space and see, okay, what am I feeling? It's like getting in touch with your emotions, and you begin to notice that when you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling like unstable in any way, like emotionally, if you're feeling really sad, like think about that. When we're feeling really sad, we want to eat. I know that when I'm repressing my emotions and I'm not allowing myself to feel all my emotions, then I begin to feel really like I want to eat in order to distract myself from the discomfort that I'm feeling in my body, from the discomfort of the grief, from the discomfort of the negative thoughts. And all eating disorders are stemming from it's mental health, right? So if we can stop it at the mind, then we can begin to shift our habits and our patterns, and we can still use food. The reason I used food as a child to help with my anxiety is because it would ground me. It would give something in my hand. Otherwise I was floating around. That's what it would feel like. Because I was pure, like, connected to my spirit still at this young age, but I didn't have any structure. Nothing was holding me down. Like my environment and my parents, right? My parents' energy, even if they were providing me with stuff in the physical world, their energies behind the people themselves were really unstable, and I felt that as a sensitive being. And so my sense of stability didn't necessarily come from my home or my parents' job. You know, it came from how stable did my parents feel, and how, you know, it's because we pick up on their presence. You know, we'll pick up on their energy in their presence. So we begin to feel what they feel. And, you know, both my parents struggled with anxiety, and so of course it's going to be passed down. But also we have to learn how to cope. We have to learn how to manage our anxiety. You can live with anxiety, and like, you can live without having medications. And I was taking anti-anxiety medications because of this, but the more I became aware of my negative thoughts, and every time I was shaming my body, or have you ever like noticed this, like when you, maybe at the end of the day you lay down and you kind of like begin to go over in your mind everything you ate that day? And I have to stop myself in those moments when my thoughts begin to trail and I begin to obsess about food, or obsess about what my body looks like, or, you know, especially when I was first beginning to lose weight, like obsessing with getting to a certain goal or a certain number on the scale. And eventually it just became about how could I feel happiness, right? How could I comfort myself in a way that wasn't me abusing food and feeling myself so full that I was in pain, you know. And you know, instead of like, and for the longest time I would fill my stomach really full because it would, you know, make me feel like comforted, right? It makes you feel very comforted to have a full belly, and it was like the only way I felt like held. And so I used food to hold me and to comfort me for a very long time. But what I've just started to do is just do different things that make me feel held, that make me feel supported, right? And you can still support yourself, and supporting yourself with food is the whole purpose. Like, I can still use that grounding technique to help me come back, you know, because I am very, I just have a high vibration, and so I can really, if I don't ground myself to the physical earth, I can feel very scattered and very spacey, because I have a very open mind, and it allows me to, you know, see beyond the limitations of just this time and space. And so if I don't ground myself to my body, and one of the reasons I would come into my body when I was younger was by feeding it. I would feel connected to my body when I was eating, when I would feel myself become full, you know. So it was just a really unhealthy relationship I learned to have with my body at a really young age, like, and I would punish it rather than, you know, make it feel good about itself. So that's what I do now. I make it feel strong and powerful, and, you know, at peace and relaxed and comforted and seen and worship. You know, I do that through sensuality practices. One of the ways you can get really sensual with your food is by sitting in the quiet, distractionless. That means no phone, no radio, no people around, just you and your food, right? Especially if you struggle with eating disorders or you struggle with body image, forming a relationship with your food is going to be key for you to live with this. Like, we're going to have to live with these you know, these aspects of ourselves that really struggle to accept ourselves. So what we're really just teaching ourselves how to do is love ourselves unconditionally. You can eat the pie. You can eat all the mashed potatoes you want. You can, you know, you can eat the cookies, everything. You want to eat it, eat it. That's okay. Just don't shame yourself, right? And you'll notice that, watch when you eat something and how often you're shaming yourself the whole time you're consuming it. And if you can't deal with the shaming, recognize how often you want to distract yourself while eating. Are you actually enjoying your meal while you're eating it, or is what you're eating habitual? So really get into the tastes and the textures when you're in this, you know, practice of being with your food distractionless. What does it taste like? What are the textures? What do you feel on your tongue? Is it hot? Is it warm? Like, how does it feel going down your throat? How does it feel after you've digested it? You know, like, and that's the awareness that's coming back to the presence. Like, how am I feeling while I'm eating this food, you know? Like, what thoughts are arising for me while I'm eating this? What feelings or emotions are arising for me when I'm eating this? You know, kind of asking yourself why, getting kind of curious, and that's like our inner child. And, you know, getting back to, you know, how did your parents teach you? You know, some of us were taught how to have a really good diet. Some of us were taught how to have, like, to take really good care of our bodies, but some of us weren't. And I'm here for those people. So if you struggle with that, then, you know, like, you're at the right place. So you can find this new relationship with your food, with your body. And it doesn't have to be these fad diets that you're seeing on TV. Like, you have to find what's going to work for you. And every single person is different. So stop listening to what everyone else is doing and take that time, that quietness, that presence, come back to here. What is your body asking for? Is your body saying, I need more water and less sugar? You know, so how can you kind of, and just start by taking little baby steps, you know, and it's not about falling off the track. Or if you binge eat and you eat too much, you haven't fallen off the track. You don't need to beat yourself up and be like, oh, you don't need to wallow. You can say, I see you. you're doing your best. I see that you're struggling, or I see that you're overeating because you're repressing your emotions. How can I help you? How can I make you feel better, right? Create that inner dialogue with yourself. When you notice yourself judging yourself, being really judgmental, how can you stop the inner dialogue and take it in a new direction? And then that will literally take your habits in a new direction, and you're no longer going to reach to the cupboard to find that comfort. You're going to reach towards your, yourself, your soul, your, your inside of you. You're going to reach for that for comfort, right? Before you're reaching externally, right? So you always want to come in and like, am I eating this because I'm feeling very, does it align with you? Like, that's all you have to ask yourself. And sometimes it's, your habits are going to kick in and you're going to eat habitually, and that's okay. You have to take it one step at a time. I've literally, and you'll go through different phases and through different steps. So be really open with yourself, be really gentle with yourself, be really kind to yourself. And it's the self-compassion mixed with the self-awareness that will heal you. And you don't even really have to do anything to like physically make your body change, because you don't need to change. All you need to do is change how you think about yourself. Like, instead of beating yourself up, right? And to think about the reason we would binge eat food and eat food so much to the point that we're so stuffed and full that we're miserable, right? That's a form of punishment. And so and a lot of us were taught, that it's more normal to punish ourselves, right, than it is to feel pleasure. So in those moments when you're feeling like kind of beating yourself up, or you're seeking comfort, just become aware of when you're seeking comfort and try to give yourself comfort in a new way. Another one of my favorite practices for that is just, I picked up yoga for that reason too. It's just, it helped me form a relationship with my body. So every time I would binge eat, and let me tell you, I still do, and I don't beat myself up about it anymore. I see it as a coping mechanism. I see it for what it is. And it's okay. Like, I'm not judging it anymore about myself. I'm like, okay, I see you. Like, how can I make you feel better? And after I binge eat, I come and I, be with my body, like being on my yoga mat. I just come to my body and I sit with the discomfort. How when you're really full, you want to like, and when you're feeling really full, you don't really feel like good in your body. You don't feel like strong or supported or sexy. You don't feel like really good and playful, and you feel kind of down, you feel like heavy, and you're just like, oh, I'm so heavy, right? And it's that energy. We're trying to kind of ground ourselves to get out of our mind, and to kind of come back into our bodies, and we find that through eating. So it's really important, instead of like doing it mindlessly, how can I do other mindful techniques that are going to help me feel full, right? Full of spirit, full of happiness, full of joy, full of peace, right? You're wanting to create that. That's what you're seeking. And for those few moments that you're eating, maybe, that was for me, like I would feel happiness, I would feel comfort, I would feel, like excited for the 20 minutes I was eating my food, maybe even less than that. And then my happiness would all go away after, and then I was just full and stuck with my own thoughts again and feeling miserable, and then it would just repeat this loop. So instead of going there, I had to learn how to like come to my yoga mat, how to move my energy in a different direction. I love to dance when I'm feeling full. Like, I love to touch my body and just move my body and, talk to it. Like, I love talking to my body like it's just like my own baby. Or like after I work out, I say, good job, body. You did such a good job, body. I'm so proud of you, body, and touching your body and telling it and like praising it and telling your body it did such a good job after you go for a run and it's the best run you've ever had, or if it's the first time you ever allowed yourself to move in a really long time and your muscles are sore and you're aching and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this again. How can you say, good job, body, I'm so proud of you, body, you did such a good job? Like, in saying those things, you can do it to your mind too and to your heart, and this will really change your relationship and speaking to yourself in new ways, because maybe we needed our parents to speak to us in new ways, to encourage us, to help us move our energy, to help us find what brings us joy, to help us find what brings us peace. But maybe we didn't have that connection, and so that connection came through something else that could bring security or could bring comfort, and that was the food. So for me personally, so if that's something you struggle with and that's why you're here, then thank you. And I hope that this can be helpful for you. I hope it can be healing for you, and I hope you can just continue to come back to the present moment. Be with yourself while you're eating. Just notice what's going on. What thoughts are you having? What are you feeling? And notice how often you want to distract yourself while you eat. So just keep that in mind, and then just observe yourself. it's a fun way to kind of like get to know yourself and know who you are and what it is you want and what it's gonna, you know, if like you're working on a certain part of your body, if you're wanting to help manage your anxiety, if you're wanting to feel stronger, if you're wanting to feel more alive, right? Because think about like the foods you eat. You might be eating foods that are like literally dead, like dead animals, right? That can make you feel really dead, right? Or you can eat foods that are feeling really alive and rich, which are be like fruits and vegetables, right? So just watch how you feel after you eat too. And your food's always communicating with you. So how can you listen, right? How can you quiet the mind and listen to the information that is coming from your food? Listen to how it reacts in your body, because I'm picking up a lot of people are having different reactions to different foods they're eating, and your body, that's your body asking you to eliminate or to cut it out. You could create sorts of things like inflammation and feeling really hot, or rashes, or like just scratchy throats I'm hearing too, or just like things in the physical body manifesting. So there's just lots of different things that you could be like, get an upset stomach from something that you normally eat, but now it's not really sitting right with you. And your body has the right to change, and we are evolving, and so our bodies are going to be needing to be fed different things. And think about how much of our food is filled with fillers and things that are just not natural, right? And so our body has to kind of work really, really hard to process all those things, and and sometimes it can't even process those things, and then they just get stuck in our body. So you might be called to do cleanses or to work in different. I know I feel called on a whole nother level to work with food in a different way that's going to support my mind, body, and spirit, to like really get into tune to that gut health. Because think of your gut, it's your instincts, right? It's that, and your intuition is fine-tuned by what you eat, what you put in your body, right? So if you're drinking lots of water, if you're drinking lots of fruits, or sorry, if you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables, or drinking them through smoothies, like that's really, supporting your intuition, your gut instincts, right? And I think now more than ever, as we're moving into the unknown territory, we're going to need our gut instincts. We're going to need to know, and it's not about survival anymore. We can truly trust our instincts to guide us as long as we're supporting that connection. And when you're supporting that connection through source, and you're eating foods that are going to nourish you and really make you feel strong and powerful from the inside out, then you're going to start to feel that way, and you're just going to radiate it. And I think that, especially in this country, what we need more now than ever is health, right? We're having a health crisis. We have a global pandemic. Hello! We need to take care of our beautiful, beautiful health, but we've been taught to neglect it, right? To rely on medications, to rely on diets, and all these things on the external world to consume different things, It's like, here, our society fills us full with all this fake stuff and all this filler and all this crappy food, and then they're selling us that, so we're consuming that, and then they have this whole other industry of giving you certain medications, and they're making bank off that. How much does it cost people to heal themselves? For me, I've healed myself on very little to nothing, with my own instincts, with my own intuition. I have healed myself. My body has healed itself. All I had to do is, take the action steps I was being guided to take by listening to my body. So I had to form that connection and be quiet with myself. And I was so uncomfortable. I had so many aches and pains in my body, and that's why we tend to overeat, is because we're storing stress and tension in our bodies, and we're trying to find some relief and some comfort from that. So when we can begin to tend to those emotions and those aches and pains and those stresses, what is causing stress in our life? How can we eliminate more of the stress in our life, right? And then that will begin to affect our diet, and we'll no longer be, stress eating all the time because we're constantly stressed. So what in your life is causing stress, and how can you eliminate that? Or how can you, place boundaries in that area of your life that isn't creating so much, illness or disease in your body, and then you're just trying to cope with it. So forming a really healthy, strong relationship to your body includes being quiet with it. It's not just about physical activity. And that's why it's so funny, because I've lost I've lost over 200 pounds, and I literally have done it with my willpower, with my mind power, willing it off. And I mean, of course, I've also been running for a couple of years now, and jogging, and doing yoga, and dancing, and, just eating differently, changing my diet, so I had to co-create, and I had to listen to my intuition, and I had to listen to what my body was, and I had to choose actively to make those new decisions. And it wasn't always easy, and I didn't always do it. Sometimes I chose the pleasure and the comfort over, listening to my intuition that was saying, come to me, find your comfort in me, and this took me a long time to discern these two inner voices, right? The one that's the ego that's going to be seeking, sniffing out comfort, that survival aspect of us, or there's going to be this part of us that we can get really still with, and we can transcend our body and our mind and come back to this ever-present sensation of being full with the divine, with all that is. And then that helps us let go of certain addictions, whether it's food for you or whether it's any other addiction. So you can apply this to any other thing you do to distract yourself from your thoughts or to create comfort. What do you use? Maybe it's not food for you, but what do you use to comfort yourself? And how can you just create new habits that are more healthy? More, just more healthy habits that you can seek comfort through rather than harmful ones. So we've been taught to kind of self-harm, but we haven't really been taught to self-care and self-love. So when you're teaching yourself, it's important to be gentle, to give yourself space, time, and compassion, and just allow your spirit to kind of guide you and lead you. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope it was healing for you. And I'm sending you so much love. Take care.